Doom v Vamos v Vamos Epicureans. This is the BCE Comics Pod one-shot edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing well, particularly since we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club, and this one-shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is Uncanny X-Men number 175, Phoenix. John Romita Jr. takes over pencils on the final 9 pages of this one. So we start with the regular crew, and then JR takes over. Alright, so the Phoenix suddenly drops Cyclops from the sky over the mansion and seems to be attacking the X-Men, except that we learn that it's not the Phoenix, but rather Jason Wingard / Mastermind, who is making the X-Men believe that Cyclops is Dark Phoenix. So Cyclops has to find a way to outwit his teammates, and he does so by having Rogue take the power of the unconscious Professor X, whom Mastermind first took out, and then when Rogue does that, Rogue can then reveal the truth to the rest of the team. Afterwards, they're able to overwhelm the villain and allow Cyclops to reunite with Madeline Pryor for the two of them to be wed. Alright, Stojr, what are your thoughts?
I mean, this is a fun issue. I like how Cyclops really kind of shows how he's the tactical leader in this issue, right? Like he's outsmarting his whole team. He's doing so in a way that, you know, can potentially help everybody out as the dogs try and participate in this podcast.
I said I want more pets.
I think they saw a squirrel running through the snow, and now they're gonna bark like crazy. Some of the art in here, like there's a lot of pages in here. It's a exercised issue, with it be a 20th anniversary issue. Some of the pages in here, you could tell Paul Smith is kind of like exiting and on his way out. Like the first couple pages with the Professor and Rogue look a little off to me, but you know, other pages are really solid. The mystery here of like, well, is Dark Phoenix really doing all these things where you bring in the Avengers, you bring in the Corsair and others, and sort of talk about that. I find that very interesting. I like Kitty's costume here. I think it's kind of, I mean, it's silly, but it's like, it's different. It's kind of neat with the headband and things like that. They don't really explain how Jason's like better. Like they just kind of, you know, like she did this thing to me and now I'm back for revenge. But you would almost think like he'd be like a drooling vegetable for like a while because of, you know, expanding his mind to the rest of the universe, type of thing. So I find all of that that a little odd, but then, you know, the JR art comes in. I like his art in this era. I'm a big fan of JR. I'm not above critiquing him. I know he's gotten a lot of recent flack from some of his stuff. This era and the way his art looks here looks amazing. So I'm going to let the dogs out while you give your thoughts.
Sure, yeah. I agree with some of the things you're saying there. I liked the really inventive use of the Danger Room and some planning that Cyclops has to get out of the predicament that he's in. Having said that, I'm wondering when the Danger Room became this full-on simulated hologram. I'm not sure I caught when that happened. I mean, I think Cyclops acknowledges that the old Danger Room couldn't do all this new stuff that he has it doing. I think it later gets explained away as they were using Shi'ar technology to make this work, but I didn't catch when that happened, if that has been explained. Otherwise, I find it, with the technology at the time, let's see if I can actually get something on the comic viewer. Very, very neat panels right there with that kind of ghost ethereal thing where Scott is supposedly in the afterlife talking to his mother. But let's see. I guess it's here. We're actually getting recreated cliffs and drops and everything inside the Danger Room. And again, I don't know when they figured out how to do that.
Yeah, it feels like the Star Trek thing, right? Where,
yeah.
You know, you walk into a blank room and it could be anything you want, as big as small as you want. And obviously, this was out before the Next Generation when that was a thing. But I think they're just going to write it off as Shi'ar technology at this point.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. But I don't know if they've said that yet. If they did, I missed it.
No, I think this is fairly new.
Likewise, I have been noticing that Nightcrawler's powers have slowly been creeping up in power, right? he used to be knocked out if he tried to teleport someone else with him, but now he seems to be doing it on a regular basis. We started seeing that in the God Loves, Man Kills graphic novel, that he's more and more teleporting people. And I don't mind that. It makes sense that as he gets better with what he's doing, that he should be able to do more with his powers, that it should kind of have, I know people complain about power creep, but, the more you exercise your muscles, the stronger you get, right? So it kind of makes sense that he would be able to be better and better with using his power. So I'm fine with that. I do like how Mastermind was coming back to get revenge for what happened to him. It makes sense. And obviously it makes sense that they're trying to build on the popularity of the Dark Phoenix storyline. But we don't get any explanation for how Mastermind was restored to consciousness. We're only told that he gets better. And I know you brought that up, Stojr, and it does bug me. I want to know how he got back, but it's just completely glossed over.
And I don't know where, so in the 90s, Mastermind dies from the legacy virus, and I'm sure gets brought back or something like that. And he was in a bed, sickly, right? And I always thought that was from the Dark Phoenix saga, that he never returned. I kind of forget about this storyline, right? Or forget he was in it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how often he's going to be used going forward. I can't think of other Mastermind storylines after this.
Yeah, and I can't either, to be honest. So I really don't know. I will say I did not notice the transition from Paul Smith to John Romita Jr., and I think that's maybe credit to Bob Viacek's inking that we get a smooth transition, but I'm fairly certain this is the page where it happens right here. I think I counted backwards and figured it out, and I do find it rather funny that John Romita Jr.'s first page is when Storm is raising this terrible rainstorm. I was at a convention once where I sat on a panel that John Romita Jr. was speaking at, and people were just asking about his life in comics and that sort of thing. And he mentioned that one of the things he tried to do when he was getting into the business was to draw a lot of rain scenes, because drawing rain for artists is hard to do, and a lot of artists don't like doing it. So he was trying to stand out with a lot of rain in his arts, and that of course got him pigeonholed, where even to this day people expect him to draw rainy scenes. And you can see that in his run on Amazing Spider-Man. He's had a lot of issues where there's still a lot of rain happening and so forth, so that kind of became one of his things.
His early art is definitely something that you can see influenced by either an inker or a colorist, or just another penciler working with him at that time. We'll talk more about this in one of our sort of fanfare issues, but one of the books that came out in January 2026 has been the Spider-Man Threader Menace, which has him as the artist back in 80 to 81, so slightly before this. But when you flip through that book, it doesn't smack you in the face as classic JR art that you might think of as through his later Spider-Man or Daredevil or Iron Man or things like that. And I think a big reason is until you get to almost the last couple of issues of that book, he's partnered up with somebody for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I think that plays into it. They're doing a lot more of that house style. And I think they did a really good job with transitioning from Paul Smith. Like I said earlier, I don't know if this was, by design. The thing that I read made it seem like Paul Smith didn't finish this issue, so they had to bring in JR at the mm-hmm. to finish it. But whether that's true, or this was a purposeful transition to the next era of X-Men, it's smooth. It's not jarring.
Yeah, and I think you were absolutely right. I can say definitively you're absolutely right about the inkers playing a big role in John Romita Jr. early in his career. At that same convention, I had Romita sign my copy of Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 11, which is his first work. And he opened it up and he was like, "Oh God, I did so terrible on this." And in my ignorance, I said, "No, wait, no, this looks great. What are you talking about?" And he said, "No, that's Al." I think it was Al Milgrom, the inker. He said,
"I think you're right."
Yeah, the inker did all of the cleaning up and everything on that. It's like, oh, okay, this is my first realization of, oh yeah, the inkers really do a lot in the comics, don't they?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, you see a big difference in. I mean, he was on Spider-Man. Not to get into a whole rabbit hole with JR, but he's one of my favorite artists, and it kind of bothers me that he's getting a little bit of flack, even if there's at times it's deserved. Like not every panel is going to be perfect, not every cover is going to be perfect.
yeah,
But when you look at like the art that he was doing, sort of post Clone Saga. I mean, he did some of it during the Clone Saga, but post Clone Saga for Spider-Man. But before JMS came on board, before that sort of like 2001-ish time frame, where they have that legendary run, like his art's not the same. And I think that is either a mix of like the way that they were doing the digital inks during the 90s for the Clone Saga, the sort of washed out feel that they started to do after that as they started to adjust. And I don't know the specifics, if they stopped the inks or they stopped the digital inks or they tried to adjust the digital inks in that time period. But then like his art just pops in that JMS run. Everything's, has this pops of color, darks and brights kind of next to each other. And I think Scott Hanna is the inker,
yes.
and I actually think Scott lives in my neighborhood. He was at my, he was. They had him at my kid's school last
Really?
year. And he's. I don't think he lives far from here. I wasn't able to go to meet him, but yeah, I mean, he just did such a great job then, and he's been with him for a while. So I think whether it's the early career here where they're literally helping with the pencils for with the inking or another penciler, or it's just a good you're paired up with a good colorist. I think it makes such a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely agree. All right, Stojr, any other final thoughts?
No, all good. Look forward to the next one.
All right. Well, once again, if you guys have enjoyed our thoughts, follow us on YouTube. We are going to read, rate, and review a full Big Collected Edition comic once a month, plus these daily one-shots. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.